Hey everyone, Katie Skoo with Simple Life Pattern Company. Thanks for joining us on day 3 of our Piper Sew Along. Today we're going to complete steps 10 through 18. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Simple Life Patterns, and while you're here, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now let's get started. Starting at step 10, we are going to take our straps and place them right sides together. So this is my right side, I'm going to place it down and pin it along the top of our shoulder straps. You need to adjust your gathers enough to where you have enough for your seam allowance on each side of your strap. You're going to do this with both pieces. So if you're like me and you pinned or you ironed your strap so you have the center seam down the center back right here, that will be facing up. That's the wrong side of our strap. Once you do that, you're going to want to go ahead and pin your flounce pieces along the armhole, matching up the shapes. That will kind of secure everything in place for our next step. Step 11, let me get my lining pieces here. On step 11, we are going to take our lining and place it right sides together. So this would be my right side. I'm going to place it on top, and I am going to match up the armholes, the shoulder seam, the neckline, and same thing on this side. Pin it all in place. Once you have that done, your straps will be encased in between the two layers. So I have my main and my lining now. So I went and I stitched along the armhole, up across the straps, and around the neckline and back on the other side. This, once you're done with that, you can go ahead and clip your curves. When you're sewing the top of your shoulder straps, I like to reinforce those seams as well, which is in step 12. You can go ahead and make sure everything turns out right. Your straps aren't sewn into any sort of side seam or anything. You can go ahead and sew those back and forth about 1 or 2 more times. That way they're nice and secure for when the kids are playing. Once you have finished that, we will, on step 13, you can, once you turn this right side out, and on your lining, once you press this out, on your lining in here, you have the seam that we clipped. You'll take, so this main fabric, that you'll see the main fabric there, and you'll stitch it onto the lining. And that's a stay stitch. That's so you don't have to top stitch your bodice at all, because we don't have any top stitching on our straps or anything. So if you want to avoid doing any of that, you can understitch underneath the neckline right there, and then you won't be visible on the outside. So once you have completed that step, we will go ahead and go to step 14. We'll take our main fabric and lay it on top of our lining fabric. These are our back bodice pieces, right sides together. You'll go ahead and sew the armhole. You will not sew across the shoulder on this step. Then you'll sew the back scoop, and you won't sew the shoulder on this side either, and then you go ahead and sew this armhole. So you have the 2 armholes and the scoop. Sew that and clip your corners. Step 15, we are going to have our main bodice right side out, and our back bodice pieces will be wrong side out. Now you want to go ahead and make sure that you have your gathers. Mine kind of came undone on these straps right here, which is okay. I mean, they're sewn in and they're fine, but I really wanted the gather to be a little bit tighter, so go ahead and make sure your gathers are nice and tight on the edge of your straps here now. Then we are going to take our back bodice piece and separate the main and the lining just like so. As you notice, I have my main fabric facing up on both pieces. Even though this one's wrong side out, I still have it so the main fabric is on the top. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to take my bodice, my front bodice pieces, and I'm going to take these straps and I'm going to slide them in through the back bodice armholes. And this is why we didn't sew this shut right here, because we need to pull them all the way up to right there and adjust your gathers and align them up right here. You can use a safety pin like it states in the pattern, or if you have a trusty little loop turner. I'm just going to put this in there, and I'm going to hook it onto my strap, just in kind of anywhere at this point. And I'm just going to pull it up, and I'm going to pull it even farther out than I need to, because I can always pull it back down and adjust it, just so it's right where I need it. So now you can kind of see I have my straps right here. I'm going to pull it down until it meets the raw edges of my straps on the front bodice meet the raw edges of my shoulder seam on the back bodice. Right about there. And then the gathering is still pretty tight right there, and I really like the way that's going to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that in place. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So now I have my front bodice sandwiched in between my back bodice pieces. I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew these shoulder seams in place. I'm going to back stitch over them probably once or twice just to make sure they're nice and secure. I have sewn my shoulders. I'm going to go ahead and clip each corner at an angle. This helps reduce some of the bulk and turn out a little bit more of a nice crisp corner point. So once you do that, here comes the fun part. We're just going to go ahead and lift this up and just pull your bodice right side out, just like that. And you can go ahead and get rid of all your gathering stitches now that might be hanging from your shoulders. But this is looking super cute. Moving on to step 16, we're only going to be working with the back bodice, so I just have my front bodice portion rolled up. On the back bodice, we're going to find our center back just by overlapping that, kind of put a crease. And I am using a friction pen, which is heat erasable. I'm just going to kind of mark that little point right there. Now, there is a chart in the pattern, and it will tell you how much to measure over from this point on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and measure over 2.75 inches, which is about right here. Same thing on this side. Okay, so I'm going to sew a ½ inch down from this mark all the way over to this mark. Be sure you do sew a back stitch line on each side to secure. This is where we're going to put a little piece of elastic to keep the back of the dress from gaping open. So I'm going to head over to my sewing machine and sew a ½ inch down from this mark to this mark. On step 17, we are going to attach our safety pin to our piece of elastic. This is a fairly small piece of elastic, and we are going to fit it all the way across to this side. So you want to make sure you have a good hold on this. The first thing that we're going to do is get our safety pin closed. I'm going to open up the main and the lining, and I'm going to start on this side and just slip the safety pin in through your little casing. Now I'm going to turn it this way so I can feel it. I'm only going to pull it until the end of my elastic piece, which is right here, until this piece ends up right at my stitching line, and I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch extra right there. So just keep on pulling it until you can feel the end of it. You don't want to pull it too far. Okay, so I have it right there. I'm going to go ahead and take this to my machine, and I'm going to sew from my line up, and I'm going to back stitch about 2 or 3 times to secure that piece of elastic in that spot. Make sure you are sewing on top of the elastic at this point. Otherwise, when you pull it any farther, it will just come right out the other end. So I'll be right back. Okay, I have secured this end of the elastic. Now I'm going to keep pulling my safety pin and pull it all the way through onto this side. And you'll see it'll start gathering. I'm going to pull I want to make sure my whole entire safety pin is pulled out. And you want to make sure your elastic doesn't twist at all. And then you're going to open this up, kind of pull out your elastic. And I like to pull enough out to where it's not going to get sucked back into there. So now I can go ahead and remove my safety pin. And I'm going to very carefully and very slowly let the elastic slide back in until I can feel the end of my elastic is here right now. I want it to be 1/4 inch away from this edge or this marking that we made for our casing. So you don't want to pull it any more than that. So very carefully, right there. And then you can go ahead, I don't have my pins next to me, but then just to make sure it doesn't slide in or get sucked in there, you can just kind of shove something in there, just kind of hold it in place while we head to the sewing machine and sew back and forth right at your mark a couple times. Our cute little elastic back has been completed, and I'm going to do this a little bit sideways so it fits in the camera frame. What you want to do is take your back, main, and lining separate them by flipping the lining piece up, just like that. And it's gonna look a little funny and a little wonky. That's all right. We're gonna do the same thing with our front. Once we have this laid out, I'm gonna take the back and fold it over onto the front pieces, and you'll notice that the lining, front and back lining are matching, and the main front and back are matching. Go ahead and pin at the seam right here. And you can go ahead and put one at each corner. You will do this on both sides. Once you have both sides pinned along these side seams, you will go to your machine and sew along the entire length, and you'll do the same thing on this side. Once you have sewn your side seams, that is it for day 3. We only have one more day left in the Piper Sew Along, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see whenever we post videos, and we'll always be hosting more and more sew-alongs. You can join our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/SLPCO, where you can post your progress pictures or get inspiration for the Piper dress or any other of our hundreds of other patterns that we have. You can shop our patterns at thesimplelifecompany.com, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Simple Life Patterns. Thank you so much for watching.